You're now watching Sports Bettor's Paradise on the BetRivers Network.
All right, Jimmy out along with Bruce Marshall here talking some college football. It's championship week in the college football, so we got a limited schedule, so we're going to get into it, dig deep. He's got 5 of them for you this week, and we're going to start off with Friday night. It appears to be a play-in for the national tournament, the semifinals, the invitational, the Final Four, whatever you want to call it. The last year of 4. What a great year to only have 4 when you got so much clutter around that area. A lot of deserving teams this year. Boy, this is a public side, and, man, undefeated team on a neutral field has already beaten them. I guess Bruce would go back maybe Orange Bowl one year, Oklahoma, Nebraska. Nebraska upset Oklahoma. They replayed each other in the Orange Bowl, and Oklahoma was double-digit favorite. I want to say almost 14 in that one. That fell like 11 or 7. That was back in the Barry Switzer, Tom Osborne era. So that's one that comes to mind. But this thing started out lower. It has been built up. We've seen a couple of 10s out there. But right now at BetRivers, Oregon is 9.5 over undefeated Washington.
Yeah, Oklahoma, Nebraska. That was the 79 Orange Bowl. And Nebraska scored in the last play of the game, I think, to get that to 31-24. It was 31-17 right before, but they did end up covering it. But I almost, this number has gotten out of hand here. And I almost think, I don't want to over-dramatize this and say this is for the sake of civilization. But for the sake of sanity in college football, I hope Oregon doesn't cover this game. Because of what Boo Corrigan said on the athletic director at NC State on the committee, they're saying we love Oregon here because of the dominance they've shown. The name of the game is winning, and by me, I like what a team that can keep pulling out wins week after week after week. Go back, Vince Lombardi's Packers. For the most part, except for that, maybe the first one, the 61 against the Giants. I mean, it was a struggle to win some of those the championships in the NFL. It didn't come easy. That's a mark of greatness, is winning close games. And Washington has done that. And I don't hold that against the Huskies at all. They're finding a way to win. And when Kalen DeBoer continues to pull out the plays he needs, and this team continues to make plays in the clutch everything's on the line. That 4th and 1 from in their own territory and that last drive for the field goal last week, brilliance. How many teams have we seen just ram the ball right into the line on 4th and 1, just try to overpower you? I mean, he came up with something for almost a 30-yard gain, a brilliant play, and that set up that last field goal. I'm not going to take anything away from Oregon, though, because they have been dominant here, like Boo Corrigan said, for the better part of this season. And Bo Nix may well win the Heisman if Jaden Daniels doesn't from LSU. They have been torching teams. The schedule, though, has fallen pretty good for Oregon in this stretch when they've been facing some of these teams. And I point out again, they lost a game in Seattle to the Huskies. A game a lot of people thought they could have won. There's some questionable decisions in that game by Lanning, going forward on some 4th downs and things like that. But in the clutch right at the end, they couldn't stop Washington. Right at the end, Washington went 53 yards in 2 plays to win the game in the last minute. Then they watched that field goal get missed. Washington won this game last year at Eugene. That's the only team that's won at Eugene the last couple of years, 19 in a row. I know they haven't won a game by more than 10 points since September, but they win. And Penix has this knack of making big plays. The running game came up big against USC when they were challenged in that game. They just seem to make plays that they need. This is too many points, I think. And Washington, extra motivation for the Huskies. They're not getting the respect. I'm going to take the 9.5-10 with Washington.
Washington 6-0 in one-score games this year with another one over Washington State. Get extra value this football season with BetRivers Squares. Win up to $10,000 in bonus money. Bet $10 in same-game parlays on any game with the Squares icon to earn a square. That's brought to you by our friends over at BetRivers. Talking about maintaining sanity in college football. Come on, Bruce. I live in SEC country. There is no sanity down here. Bama in Georgia. Here we go. Georgia, 6-point favorite. That's right. It's up to 6 now. This was 3.5 look ahead this time last week. Went to open up 5.5, and now we have at 6 at BetRivers. Dogs, 6 over Bama.
That's too much. That's too many points, I think. Bama can win this game, and I read projections for the Final Four, and everybody. Well, Georgia's got to be there. Like this is a foregone conclusion. They're going to win this game. Come on, no way. I mean, the difference between these two teams is, I mean, look at the non-conference schedule, and you throw. One team's playing Texas in September, early in September, breaking in a new quarterback. The other team's playing Kent State, I think. No, I mean Georgia might have lost a game to Texas too if it played in that game in September. And we talked a moment ago about finding a way to win games. I'm hugely impressed with Bama for pulling that game out against Auburn in the Iron Bowl. We know the history of the Iron Bowl and how tough that game can be, and to pull that one out of your hat like that with the Milroe to Bond touchdown pass at the end, that just shows depth of character on a team. When you start winning games like that, you think you can beat anybody. Bowers the other way, an important guy. Hurting again for Georgia. Now maybe he'll be in there, but maybe not quite as important. Schedule didn't break quite. The SEC East was not quite the beast this year it has been in the past. So Georgia had trouble in its game against Auburn too earlier in the year, and that was before Auburn had made the commitment at quarterback to Thorne and things like that. So I think this number is way out of whack. Remember, 2 years ago, similar situation, and Bama had to win to get in the Final Four and did. The difference being 2 years ago, Georgia could still lose that game in
Right.
2021 and get to the Final Four. This year, that might not happen unless some other things transpire elsewhere. And that would be kind of crazy to think Georgia might be knocked out of the Final Four. I expect Bama to win this game because I think Milroe's ability to make plays like he did last week and his ability as a playmaker the second half of the season, he kept getting better as the season progressed. And Georgia had it, I don't want to say easy, but they didn't quite get challenged the way Alabama did, especially in that Auburn game. Bama, maybe even on the money line here, but let's just take it plus the points and see what happens.
Maybe Milroe just maybe work on it a little bit this week about the line of scrimmage, kind of recognizing where that is with a couple of those plays over the course of the season. All right, let's go to the Mountain West Conference. Computer tiebreaker here as San Jose State, maybe the hottest team in the conference, is out of it after beating UNLV in Las Vegas. They're back in Vegas for this one. Boise's a 2.5-point favorite over the running Rebels. Barry Odom, what a whale of a coaching job in his first year in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, the computer first of all can't be any smarter than what the people that feed it the info. So this is people. They can blame the computer if they want. This is people stuff that did this, and this is stupid. I'm sorry, I usually don't say that on the air, but I mean the best team in the league at the end of the season was San Jose State, rather clearly, and that game last week against UNLV was a misleading score at the end. I mean they were up 20 well into the fourth quarter in that game, and UNLV scored in the last minute to cut it to 6, but San Jose
Right.
was never really in trouble. That's the best team in the conference there. And here they're out of the championship game because they lost a game by 3 points early in the season at Boise State after they had a brutal non conference schedule to start the season. So, I mean, that is what it is. But here's what we've got here. Boise's record this year, and it's a bumpy year for Boise. So Avalos gets fired right before the end of the season. They had slipped some from their recent perch, and there's talk that Brian Harsin might come back, but right now working with an interim. It's also Taylon Green back in there at quarterback after Maddox Madsen had been there for much of the middle part of the season, except for the first game against Washington. Those games Boise lost were all very close this year. This team could easily be 9-3, 10-2, 11-1 even, but they found ways to lose a lot of games this year. UNLV, yeah, they ran into the hottest team in the league in San Jose last week, but season long, this had been a revelation what had been going on at UNLV, and it's Barry Odom and it's Brennan Marion as offensive coordinator. This go-go offense. Marion is a hot commodity right now, so UNLV. First of all, holding on to Odom is going to be hard enough, but holding on to Marion is going to be even harder, I think. But the way Jaden Maeva, the freshman quarterback, came in there in the Vanderbilt game and looked like a junior or senior right from the start. I mean, his poise and his ability to make plays. He's a dual threat. He's a big guy. He's a durable guy too. They're playing at home here. I mean, this is a plus for UNLV. They're very excited in Las Vegas, and like I said, the best team in this league ain't playing in this game. That's the one that beat UNLV last week. I don't think the Rebels lose 2 in a row. I think UNLV wins this game. The wrong team is favored, I believe. So I will go with the Runnin' Rebels here on Saturday at Allegiant.
All right, let's go to the Big Ten. And this one is climbing, as a lot of them are climbing on Conference Championship weekend. And Michigan 23.5 now over Iowa. Gotta love the first half. The first half team total for Iowa, a half. I mean, I guess you could have made it. Could have made it 3/4. I mean, give them a little respect, huh? But anyway, Michigan minus 23.5 over the Hawkeyes.
I guess you can't bet it down. I guess unless you put 0 on it, then you couldn't really go under that. But the college football equivalent of the NFC South was the Big Ten West this season, and the wretchedness of the Big Ten West. I mean, that all at once, that all of these teams became dull and predictable and stagnant at one point is unbelievable to me. The fact Northwestern, with all that went on this year and all the problems they had, could end up 7-5, and they beat Iowa in that game, which they could have done, and it was right at the end, 7-7, 10-7 right at the end. Northwestern could be in the championship game. This is wretched. I don't know that the Big Ten West was better. It wasn't better than the American this year. It wasn't better than, the Sun Belt. I'm not even sure that it was. I'd take Troy over Iowa right now. I just don't know this offense with Deacon Hill at quarterback. You know, the one game where they played one of the heavyweights from the East, Penn State, early in the season. They weren't close, and they got blown out at State College. So I throw out most of these wins over the Big Ten West. This is a totally different game against Michigan here. Michigan beat these guys really badly 2 years ago, and Iowa had a little bit more offense. And Harbaugh's back on the sideline. I don't see any way that this is not going to be a Michigan romp here this week. We'll see if Iowa even gets on the scoreboard. I'm not sure they do. So I'm going to take Michigan here, and maybe I'll go under that half point for the first half.
That game earlier this year at Happy Valley, and keep in mind, Iowa, I mean, my goodness, they were a bad call away from going 11-1, also with the Minnesota, the invalid fair catch. But the 31-0 game against Penn State, that is only the start of how bad that was. 4 first downs for the Hawkeyes, 76 yards, a little 397 to 76. It was very ugly, and still went under, though, 10-2 to the under. The unders in the mid-30s for this one. Finally, Louisville against Florida State. Everybody trying to figure out how good is Florida State without Jordan Travis. Said, well, they didn't put up a whole lot of yardage against a team that was giving up gobs of yardage. But then again, this was a rivalry, and certainly that was a little not quite your typical Florida team that had been playing most of the season. See Auburn versus Alabama for a comparison there. But Florida State did come back from a 12-0 deficit and won and covered at Florida. Now this time, this line is down to 2.5. The Noles over the Cardinals, coming off of a tough loss where they just imploded in the second half against Kentucky at home.
Yeah, we kind of liked Kentucky last week, but we didn't envision it going the way that did, Jimmy. Both of us kind of liked Kentucky, but that was sort of surprising the way that unraveled for Louisville the second half last week. And here we are with Florida State. And we've talked to people back there all year, and a lot of people I talked to in the ACC, they're just not as sold on Florida State. Even when Travis was in there, I mean, they were struggling several weeks. They rode lightning this year, several games, just to get to this point. Now, Rodemaker last year, it's worth noting, he also had to come in the Louisville game last year, and he actually won this game out on the road early in the season. Travis was knocked out of that game, and Rodemaker came in and won. But, I mean, he's not the playmaker Travis was. And I think they did fight back last week, so credit Florida State for that. But at this stage, without Travis, I mean, they're not one of the 4 best teams in the country. And this is one of the reasons why a 12-team playoff is going to be so much better. You can't have a situation like this. Although Paul Feinbaum doesn't believe you should just automatically award Florida State, if it wins, to be unbeaten, the spot in the Final Four. That's why I kind of hope Louisville wins this game. Because I think that would be better for college football to have a better 4-team playoff. With Rodemaker in there, they're not as good as they were with Travis, obviously, we know. Louisville this season was quite an overachiever, and Jeff Brom comes in there his first time. He brought the quarterback Plummer, not with him, but 2 years removed with him. He had been with him at Purdue. Plummer went to Cal for a year. Then when Brom moves to Louisville, he brings Plummer back with him. Jordan ran the ball very well. Jordan, though, has not run for over 100 yards in more than a month, and he was a hot running back at the middle of the season, so that's cooled off a little bit for Louisville on that side. But I do like the fact I think they can beat Florida State on the neutral field here. And Rodemaker now it's got to do it over 60 minutes on a neutral field. They did win at Florida last week, but we know about Florida's issues, and that was a rivalry game, like you said. Louisville has been pretty resilient this year. I like him, and it's this. I probably wouldn't be doing this if Travis was playing, but he's not playing, so I'm going to take Louisville. And I think, boy, Alabama and the others. If Alabama can win that game against Georgia, they won't have a bigger group of Louisville fans that will be sitting in Alabama watching this game Saturday night.
All right, so Louisville plus 2.5 against Florida State. 5 picks for you for championship week. So we'll have the week off next week, but right around the corner is the bowl season, and man, those lines will be jumping around very early as well. Well, throughout, as we start to see the original line movements, but also the opt-outs are very important in some of these minor bowls as well. There is some value to be had with those bowl games. For Bruce Marshall, I'm Jimmy Ott here in the Sports Bettor's Paradise on the BetRivers Network.